All right, welcome into Victory Monday. This is Red Rain episode 160. Please welcome in your host, Walter Mitchell.
Hey, Kyle Little Rock Ledbetter and my good pal Marcos Labrada joining us on a Victory Monday. I've got my tree lit up as a new tradition on Victory Mondays. Wow, whoa. Still in a state of shock. Um, so many things went wrong, and then so many things went right, and perfect storm, withstanding brutal 98-degree weather, which is unusual for Santa Clara. Um, you know, but man, the Cardinals, wow, what a fabulous win! And the question will be, can they take momentum out of this one and start running with it? We'll talk about that with Marcos and with Little Rock. Welcome back to the show, Marcos. Your thoughts and impressions after yesterday's stunning 24-23 win in Santa Clara.
Well, after taking a beating for like about a week, I think the defense really deserves like great honors. And this is not me just bringing this up as a like, hey, you have to give credence to Kyler Murray. He played a good game. I'm not gonna say he played a great game. He played a good enough game, and we're gonna talk about more about that in a second when it comes to the type of offenses that this Cardinals team has to do to succeed. And we saw a bit of that in yesterday's game. But the defense, for all the flack that they've been getting, you got to give it up to them for not only getting as many stops as they did on two crucial plays, which was an interception that was taken back all the way back to the 30-yard line. I believe it was the 20-yard line. They held that to a field goal, and of course that return free that block field goal was not their fault. That was not points added against them. So you obviously had to subtract that from them. At the end of the day, it was a 23-24 victory by the Cardinals. They actually gave up, I believe, 16 points to a 49ers team that was not only considered one of the best teams in the NFC, but they also held their own against the NFC West thus far. Playing against the NFC West, they've given up, I believe, 10 points against the Los Angeles Rams and 16 points against the San Francisco 49ers. And for as much as people want to say you need a top 15 defense to be able to win, we'll be fine with that. I think it's pretty clear to see that we need a top 10 or top five defense to have stability in the NFL because our offense is not always going to be there. And our offense right now is the shaky part of this team.
Wow, well, yeah, I'm just so amazed that this is now twice that Nick Rallis has come out of a halftime and shut down the two offenses that played in the NFC Championship game, in the Lions and in the 49ers, in remarkable fashion. And it gives me great hope that he's got some things figured out. What I'm hoping is that we'll start to translate into 60-minute performances rather than 30-minute performances. But to get 30 minutes down the way he has in key second halves is awesome. And one of the things, too, I was impressed with Jonathan Gannon was against the Lions because the defense was playing well. He risked kicking it back to them rather than go for a onside kick with 3 timeouts left. And the Lions got the first down and we lost the game and never. That's why when people were saying we had a chance to win the game at the end of that game, we really didn't because we didn't have the ball. This time around, for him to go for it on 4th down and that back foot lob throw to Marvin Harrison Jr. from Kyler Murray was kind of like another Hail Murray of sorts. For that to be complete, it was awesome. And, for them to get down there and score with Connors, the great little pass to Higgins off the trickery of a rollout, potential run option play for Kyler. That was really well done. I mean, perfect timing, the 2-point conversion. Chad Ryland having the one glitch of a shorter kick or a lower quick kick that gets blocked, but then really nailed everything else in the game, including the game winner, was right through the middle with high trajectory. Just awesome. So, but some really good decisions made down the stretch, and wow, I mean, we're going to talk about these plays because we got them queued up. We always love to do that when Marcos is here because he's our film expert, and so Kyle, can you cue up the first play?
There we go. Our
All right,
first play.
Kyle, you narrate this play as you're showing it.
All right, so we are sitting on a 1st and 10 at the 50-yard line right now. 49ers are rushing 4. They've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the box in the secondary. So they're all stacked together. Cardinals obviously are in, I believe, 13 personnel. I can't see the top of the screen, but I'm pretty sure they're in 13
Yeah.
personnel right here.
Yes.
And then Kyler Murray is going to fake a handoff, keep it on the read option, and at the 44-yard line, sticks his finger up in the air because there's no tackle there. Hufanga's a step behind him. I don't know who 53 is, but he's 2 steps behind Kyler.
Because of how good of the coverage, of good of a coverage you're doing as a defensive back, that's something that's more of like a, hey, the quarterback did a good play, good offense beats good defense, and this is a good example of that. And this is what Brock Purdy does. He's a guy that throws between the numbers. Like a lot of the concepts that Kyle Shanahan runs is a lot of like dig routes going over the middle, shallow routes going over the middle, like posts that are attacking like middle field open type of plays. That's where they live. That's their bread and butter. But when they have to do something like, when he knows he can't throw it like on stride to Brandon Ayuk, you're just gonna have to get up and get it, and that's exactly the type of pass that they had. You have to give it up to Keitrell Clark, who hasn't been given the amount of snaps that he needs to be able to have like the game, knowledge and everything. He just gets thrown out there randomly, maybe for somebody wanting to get a little bit of rest out there. He gets just thrown out there. Hey, your assignment is Brandon Ayuk. Well, he did
Yeah,
whatever he could, and I think he did a really good job on this.
I concur. So let's leave it at this with this still frame because we see good coverage to the left here. Kyle, if you put your cursor over to the farthest left of the screen, we got a hat on hat there. Then go all the way to the right. There's actually 2 guys playing this receiver. And if there's any critique here, it's on Buddha for showing so much cushion on a play that if he arrives when the ball does, there's no way that ball gets completed. And this is what a guy like Keitrell Clark has to rely on coming over playing dogging, Ayuk over the middle. And, Keitrell played this perfectly, except that he wasn't able to read that the throw was high. And I think if he had known it was going to be high, he could have launched up and maybe deflected it. But he put himself in perfect position to jump the route as the ball was arriving. As you can see, he's even past Ayuk. And his technique's perfect, and he's not grabbing, he's not holding. He's got, look at the small window that was dropped into. And I think Buddha might have been thinking that this bottom right receiver might have been breaking long, so he was honoring that. But it's too bad Buddha wasn't able to react to the pass quicker, because I think that would be an incomplete pass. Now, this is why I'm really now getting excited about Nick Rallis, because the 49ers came in, and even Tom Brady said Purdy's might have a field day picking apart the Cardinals' zones. Well, Rallis was expecting that. Expecting the Niners to think that they're going to just pass willy-nilly against their zones. And this is what they get instead, is some sticky coverage. And this is where I think Marcos said it perfectly. Sometimes a perfect play by the offense, you got to give them credit. But the Cardinals, see, I have no problem with this, because this is high-end technique, and it's high-end effort, and it's doing everything you can to be competitive on this play. So as long as we get that and the concepts are right, that makes me happy, and it gave me some confidence.
What makes me upset about a play like that is I feel like people don't see like the nuance in it. Like me and you,
Right,
Walter, we understand the nuance, right? We know like it's just not, hey, he gave up a pass. He gave up a pass to like an all-pro receiver,
right,
and it was and he had to work for him to be able to get that pass. He played that trail technique perfect and was in
yes,
perfect position to break up that ball.
yeah,
It's just that was a great play by a Pro Bowl quarterback to a
right.
Pro Bowl receiver, and people are just gonna look at that and be like, "Get him out of here." And I think I hate to say it, but I think this organization acquiesces to his fans.
Yeah, well, Kittrell was in Ayuk's hip pocket, and that's all you can. I mean, and he was in a position, if the ball's thrown lower, he could have picked that off. So, for anyone to text you and say your boy got toasted on that play, is just ridiculous. So, Kyle, next play.
All right. So this is the I believe the same drive. They get down to the goal line off the play. They've run 6 minutes off the clock. This is first and goal. You can kind of see in the bottom corner at the top of the screen, Ayuk already has 4 catches for 90 yards at this point. So I think Burkhart says on the broadcast, this is by far his best half of the season so far, which, as someone who's
Right.
watched a lot of these Niner games, I would concur. So
Yeah.
now first and goal, Niners are 4 wide here. You got 1, 2, 3, 4. There might be a fit. They might be 5 wide on this play because I don't see a. Oh, Kittle's on the line still. So they're 4 wide, no empty backfield. First and goal at the 5, touchdown.
Marcos?
I'm trying to decipher if this was a too high coverage right here. Let's see. Right about there, I think I could just tell that you have like the 5 zone under defenders. And you know that because nobody's following like Kittle like hip to hip. You know that right off the bat. He just breaks into that middle zone. So I would
Right.
guess this is like either cover 2. I don't know if it would be considered Tampa 2, because the reason why I'm saying that is because you see number 2 just kind of like running the post. Even if it's this close to the end zone, sometimes they will call Tampa 2 to try to get some sort of confusion with the quarterback. But because he runs up that post, you see him opening that middle zone for uh for Kittle to be able
Yes.
to get into that.
Yep.
Brock Purdy knows how to beat Tampa 2, and he's done it on a ton of occasions against the Cardinals. Because whenever
Yep.
he sees that open, guess who he always goes to? They always run that over the ball route with George Kittle, and he gets some big gainers out of that. So that was last year. You saw the same coverage being called, and this time Zayvon Collins was the pole runner. Zayvon Collins had to turn towards the strong side of the formation, which means the formation that has more wide receivers, which means his back was turned to Kittle. Kittle ran into that empty zone behind him, and it was
Right.
I think it was like a 50-yard gainer. So they know how to attack this profusely. So this should be teaching tape for Nick Rouse going forward, to know that they know when they have a certain look and they see somebody, a linebacker, pull running, they're going to have Kittle on the backside, and they will know that that's going to be wide open every single time. So this should be something that should be learned upon like immediately, because they're just going to keep attacking this Tampa 2 zone defense.
Yeah, I was disappointed all day in how they defended Kittle. Really disappointed. The irony is the game ends with Kittle wide open. And fortunately, the Cardinals got that deflection from Jalen Thompson, but he was wide open in that flat with nobody near him. And that was true most of the day. They got away with it. I was laughing after the game at myself for thinking that Cardinals defense had a miracle plan of not covering Kittle. Of the one guy, the two guys you'd really want to focus on were Ayuk and Kittle. I mean, what I don't understand in this play is what the Cardinal edge player is doing here. Is he being a spy? I mean, if anyone there on the play, he and Jalen Thompson would be the only, or the inside linebacker, but he has no leverage if Kittle goes outside. But right from the snap, what's clear to me is there's kind of like a hybrid coverage going here. Like no one's really playing that slot. I mean, that's going to be an easy out pass TD if Ayuk crosses like he does, and the running back runs the out pass. It's an easy TD there because you look at the leverage you're giving up with that linebacker out in space with the slot receiver there, right? So now, you know, our edge player gets a bump on Kittle. Why doesn't he stay with him? Or pass him over to two, and like you said,
Yeah.
To Wilson, Mac Wilson, who immediately thinks, it's interesting that the Juice Check, the fullback's going to be the player to look for rather than Kittle. And then, I mean, Jalen Thompson's just in no man's land. He can't defend the play. And it's too bad that, I have to be honest, I spent a lot of time in the first half watching Kaiser White, and I was appalled at how poorly he was playing. Like on this play, he's in he got stuck in no man. There's a triangle here
Yeah.
of players stuck in no man's land where nobody's covering anyone. And I'll tell you why that's an egregious mistake, because any good coach will tell you that zone works on man-to-man principles. When the receiver's in your zone, you're playing man-to-man. And none of these guys did it, and it was just so easy. It just ticks me off when I see stuff like this. It's just a gift. I mean, Kyle, you and Marcos could have run this play easily. I mean, line up Marcos at tight end. He fits the prototype. Kyle, you with your baseball background, you're about the same size as Purdy. All you have to do is catch the ball, pivot, and throw a 10-yard lob, because it would get there on a lob, to Marcos, and it's a touchdown.
Well, the part that
the Cardinals have to clean up.
The part that I was confused about here is that, so this is an interesting formation, because I believe I was trying to figure this out for the last minute or so. I believe right here at the bottom of the screen is the backup tight end, Saubert, I believe is the one on the outside. So if you're Jalen Thompson, and Thompson might be covered by our faces for the people watching, but he's kind of on the far right side of the screen. Right. Thompson, when the ball gets snapped, Thompson drops back a couple feet here. He's watching Kittle the whole way through, right. But I think the play call is kind of a split between if the tight end comes back to the ball, Thompson's in position. But I feel like you can kind of live with this one-on-one coverage here. And if they beat you one-on-one with the tight end on, I believe that's Thomas, then so be it. Or maybe that's Murphy Bunting. But you live with that, and then you have Thompson drop down into the zone here to deny Kittle. And his eyes are on him the whole time. So I think at a certain point he makes the commitment, but it's too late in the process to make a play because Kittle's already in the soft zone and the edge rusher hasn't made a play on it. So yeah, I think the play calling didn't really commit one way or another, and that was a very basic touchdown play.
Yeah, I don't get the Mac Wilson going backwards on that play with Kittle right there, and with a chance to come over the middle. I just don't get that.
That's
Uh,
that's just them straight like playing more spot dropping zone, like true spot dropping zone, and not like
yeah,
playing anything as far as like IQ or high IQ football. And I believe it's because they don't trust their guys at this
right.
moment. Um, because two things could have happened that could have broken up this play. For one, this is on Jalen Thompson. He's supposed to drive on this. As soon as he sees Kittle breaking over the middle wide open, his job is to drive on that to either break up the ball, pass, or maybe even get a deflection or interception. But when you saw him getting bumped at the line of scrimmage, you knew this was true, like a spot dropping with that defensive end because he was just going to his hook curl area and he wasn't concerned about anything passing by him. He has every single right to be able to defend Kittle if he feels like there's nobody else to defend. But these guys, as you can see, they're not picking up guys, they're guarding grass. And that's what they're being taught.
Yeah, there's no way that Thompson's going to be able to defend Kittle on a skinny post. There's just no way. Not from where he's lined up. You can't even drive. You can't ask anyone to drive on that. It's just too bang bang. Here's my critique of the Cardinals, and they've done pretty well in red zone defense. So they're doing a lot of things right, and I don't want to belabor the point. But here's my issue: is I find the Cardinals play too deep in like I want these guys, the second line, up, and defending in front of the goal line, not behind it. Because I mean, look, even on this play, had Mac Wilson Sr. wanted to defend Kittle, it still would have been easy to complete it to him because his first steps were backward. So you're giving up the goal line. I say play your second level under the goal line and your third level behind it. But and try to make those plays ahead of the goal line rather than behind it. It's hard, I mean, these are risky plays for anyone to defend and who you double team and stuff. It's just surprising to me not a lot of attention in this game was paid to George Kittle. It's almost as if they thought he wasn't going to play this week, and there was a chance he wasn't going to play, and suddenly, he's
Well,
playing, and suddenly he's wide open every time he goes out.
Well, Walter, you are correct that these are difficult plays to make, but the Cardinals essentially, because the chip block on the edge drops back, they're essentially dropping 8 into coverage on this play. So they can afford
Right.
to double team multiple
Correct.
players as they have Buddha doing up here.
And it's just bizarre that you're double teaming juice check.
Yeah, exactly. You're sacrificing pass rush ability. So Purdy's going to have as much time as he wants. There's another play later on a third down and goal where they execute it better despite only rushing 3, where Purdy kind of dances around like 25 yards backwards and they stay in coverage. But on this one, you're rushing 3, you're sacrificing pass rush, and it doesn't matter because you have Kittle one-on-one, and Thompson is kind of an in-between of, I might go to Kittle, but I can also drop back and double team this backup tight end if we need to, which is, if the backup tight end catches a lob to the back pylon, then you live with that.
Right. Okay, let's roll it on to the next. What are you saying to yourself in real time when you see this play?
When I saw this play, I told myself it's game over. I seriously thought that because most the defense had their backs to the wall. And this is what I mean when I talk about how the defense came through and actually is the real reason as to why we were even in the game to begin with.
Right.
After they gave up that field goal with that, I still thought to myself, this isn't looking good. So when you saw that motion from Connor, Bosa, like he did something that was kind of an anomaly because Bosa is more of like a I'm trying to get to the quarterback.
Right,
I'm that good of a edge rusher. But he like reads something in his defense. He thinks to himself, if Kyler Murray, if you're motioning
right,
Connor to the field side, if Kyler Murray turns, that means he's throwing that ball to Connor for a dump off like
right,
lead like screen or whatnot. So when he
right,
sees that happening, look at him. He's already taking steps back. He's not even going up against Beecham at this point. He
right.
times this perfectly. He just read this through and through. And it's yeah, it's to me a person who's always wanted to see Bosa in a Cardinals uniform. When I saw him making this play, I was like, of course he makes this play. I think I even tweeted about this. I said, of course that happens.
Yeah. So my thing is, don't ever run this play again. It's it's an awful play. There's too much risk to the reward of what might end up being a 5 yard gain. Which, by the way, look at the top of the screen. See the cushion Marvin Harrison Jr. is getting? You can get a 8 yard out pass easy every time. And look, notice that Kyler's on the short hash. I mean, audible right into that away from this stupid play. Play was stupid in this situation. 2nd and 6, you know, I mean, and no wonder. I mean, you're motioning Connor over towards Kittle. I mean, Kittle's wondering what are they doing there. The irony is too, if you take if you don't have the um, running backs there, right? If you just put Connor, out next to on Bosa's side, get DeMarcado out of the game and get another receiver in, because these are big plays towards the end of the half. I mean, I don't think you have to get cute here. So, but even if you put Connor to Kyler's right at the snap of the ball, snap the ball, have Bosa come on his normal rush, and then run the swing pass. You're going to get more out of that and far less risk. I mean, there's no one there to cover him if he was coming out in a swing pass right there. So it's just it seems like there's been one play a game where you're like too cute, too complicated. Keep it simple, stupid. I mean, this is just, and it's Kyler should know better too, not to just throw it straight. I mean, should just throw it out with some touch on that to where Connor is. It shouldn't just be a straight line, because again, it's too risky. Also, you're also risking a backwards lateral, which if Connor doesn't catch the ball, could be a live ball. There's just too much risk in this play. Um, I'm just so fed up with that play. I just want to move on if you guys don't mind. Let's just go to the next.
All right.
Now,
So
this one I like. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, now we're going backwards here. So this is still in the second quarter. This was the
Yeah,
next drive for the Cardinals. This is
Being played for a big gain anyway, is the footwork still needs to be something that needs to be worked on because once he gets his back foot, he's supposed to release that ball, but instead he kind of like heel clicks at least once or twice and gets
right.
closer to the line of scrimmage where he has to now, work against the defenders who might be able to bat that ball down. And, you kind of run yourself into trouble. But of course, like I mentioned, this play was beautiful, run executed well. Once again, just the footwork needs to have some work on.
Yeah. So run it just, I'll tell you when to pause, Kyle. Thanks, buddy. Right there. Pause. Look at the double team they're getting on Bosa. Makes this play work. Okay. Look at Paris Johnson Jr., who's playing really good football left tackle, is anchoring down that side really well. All right. And we got hats on hats. We got a double team in there. really done a great job. Look at the pocket right there. And Kyler with his footwork makes it happen. Although Marcos is right, he can set up faster and get rid of the ball faster. This is so wide open. And kudos to Michael Wilson and to Elijah Higgins. Boy, our Stanford Cardinals from Palo Alto showed up in uh, in NoCal today or yesterday. It was so awesome. I mean, Wilson had his best game of the season, and you're hoping that Kyler will get that kind of chemistry going with Marvin Harrison Jr. But the chemistry was there when we needed it most. But Wilson had a dandy of a game, and of course, Elijah Higgins will see his touchdown gem in a minute. So, but I love the way this is set up. I love the call on a 1st and 5 when you think that you might be running the ball. Notice how the 49ers are heavy in the box with the 3 linebackers,
Well,
etc.
and the other thing here, watch. I'm going to play the first part of the clip real quick. Watch these 3 linebackers right away. This is how
Yeah,
you know they're sold out for the run because
right,
all of their first steps forward. He goes forward.
right,
Warner goes
right,
forward. I don't know who that is, but they all move forward
right.
and to the left towards Connor. So they are
Yep,
selling out on the run on this play, which I
yes,
give Kyler and Connor great credit here for really selling the play action. Because right
right,
there, Warner's already taken a step back, but these two are now stuck at this point.
right, exactly. Yep. All right, let's go to the next.
All right. So this is coming out of the half here, and the 49ers have it set up 1st and 10 at their own 24-yard line. And we'll watch as Purdy drops back to pass. He's got a pretty clean pocket for the most part. 1, 2, 3, 4,
Yeah,
all sealed. There's an extra lineman
yeah,
who's not really doing anything for the Niners here.
right,
But the rushing 4, pretty clean pocket for Purdy, able to readjust from his back foot. Steps up in the pocket, but pass gets batted at the line of scrimmage.
I said, great play, Tonga. Great play on that. Great play on getting your hands up, timing the pass. You know, nobody in this situation, not a lot of people in this situation would know if he's going to throw this ball or not. And
right,
with him just perfectly timing it and, you know, batting that ball into the air and Mac Wilson being there to make a diving catch for it, that's great defensive play right there. That gives the offense so much fuel.
right. And look at third. It's the third quarter. Unfortunately, the Cardinals went 3-and-out. You make all this effort to get the ball back in the second half, and if you go 3-and-out, it's just really disappointing. Kyler Murray in the second half was frustrating the hell out of me. It was back to the 3rd-and-give-up offense. You're just throwing the ball out of bounds, looking antsy. And it's a credit to him that in this game, with the help of the defense giving him the opportunities that they gave him in the Lions game, Kyler regrouped, got his head straight, and got this thing done. But most of the second half leading up to that, it was a really difficult showing again from Kyler. Um, like that third down where he just throws a 50-50 ball to Marvin Harrison, who's like got, white on rice coverage on him on the sideline. You've got to have a better play queued up than that. It's just too risky. Then the ball sailing out of bounds on the third down for Wilson. That was thrown too quickly. That was disappointing. It was missed opportunities like that were frustrating. However, on this play here, we got to give Cardinals. This is such a huge play momentum wise because to get the ball back this soon in the third quarter was huge. Even though we ended up kicking a field goal out of it, it still was so important in this game.
Well, I think
Um,
the other part too is if I were to tell you right here, that Purdy's
Right,
had 5 seconds snap to throw, and you've got
right,
Mac Wilson guarding both Debo Samuel and
right.
George Kittle. Is
Yes,
that play going to end well for the Cardinals, or is that play going
right,
to end with one of them running
right.
free in the middle of the field?
Exactly. And you know what? I'm going to say something that might surprise some of you, but those of you who know me well know I think this way. I almost feel like this is a payback from the football gods for the Mac Wilson pick six on, against the Lions. That was such a, controversial play. And I had heard the whistle, so I knew it was going to be a dead play on that play to begin with. But, you know, and then I thought to myself, so when I saw that, I was like, wow, could the football gods be suddenly favoring the Cardinals, which they certainly weren't last week, um, where they were, I think, shining pretty heavily on Cliff Kingsbury and Jaden Daniels, and not so favorably on the Cardinals. But then I thought to myself, and I was thinking this all week, and I don't know if Marcos was too, but or Kyle was, but I thought the way the Cardinals players handled the loss afterwards was really good. They owned it. I mean, Kyler said we got our asses beat. This was the next day on like Monday. Everyone came in saying, conceding that we were awful. We got our butts beat. There was a humbleness there, and we got to quickly regroup. We got to flush this and get on to our, division rivals. And I just got this sense that, you know, that kind of humility curries favor with the football gods. That, in other words, that maybe these guys are learning a lesson from this, and the humbleness that comes from a lesson typically is what gets people to change for the better. And the fact that it happened in this game in such stunning fashion is remarkable because everything from that point forward, in a way, particularly defensively, went in the Cardinals' favor in that second half. I mean, who would have thought going into halftime that the 49ers would not score a point in the second half? Pretty stunning stuff, right? Amazing. And great for Roy Lopez. Don't need to be coy, Roy. Just let you get yourself free to be playing that where he was and get his big mid up, and to have be like Marcos and Kyle were saying. Kyle, especially when he was saying like two great receivers right there being played in the middle by one guy who comes up with the football is pretty pretty timely. All right, let's go on to the next play. Such a huge play in that game. That was so awesome.
All right. So after we have the field goal that comes off of the Mac Wilson interception, the Niners run a long drive,
Yes,
7 minutes,
yes,
take it
yes.
down the field. They're in the red zone here. Up to this point, I believe the Cardinals are 1 for 4 in terms of stopping the Niners, or the Niners are 1 for 4 in terms of red zone drives going for touchdowns. So the Cardinals are
Right.
doing a good job of holding the Niners down in the
That's right.
red zone. And so on a 2nd and 14 here at the 19.
Play, that's probably could be stuffed. We say it's a game of details. These little details are critical. And I agree with Marcos. I was so happy they went for it there. I mean, why not? Let's, get things really interesting. And, the Niners presented the Cardinals was with that decision by the penalty. Do you remember what the penalty was? I'm trying to remember. What did they do wrong? The play before. Oh, roughing the passer. Roughing the passer on Kyler. Yep. So beautiful. Set it up for Connor. And I'm so glad this week they ran the ball on 4th and 1. Remember last week? Twice throwing it with James Conner on the team. That was bizarre. But all right, next one. I think this is the big interception. And wow, what a play. This is, I mean, I think the guy who was texting you to give you giving you shit about K-Trell is the same guy who texted out, this is about to be the longest 153 of the year. And yet, not soon after, we got the football back. Oh my God.
Like I said,
I mean, all of our late game nightmares were erased. So
it was great defense just all around.
yeah. I mean, well, this play was just
The next play I
There we
have
go.
on here. I don't think we have a video of
oh,
that second interception, but
okay. Yeah,
We
well,
do
I
have a
did
forced fumble.
post it, but let's do this one too, because this was huge.
yeah, I can find that video if we want to go back to it.
Oh,
But
yeah,
the
I included it in the email, but yeah, I'm getting way ahead of myself because there was a lot of defense left at that point in the game.
yes, so after all is so after the 2-point conversion, the Niners
Right,
again drive down the field. They're in the red zone. At this point, the Cardinals have stopped the Niners on 4 of their 5 red zone trips, I believe, from scoring a touchdown. A couple have ended
right,
in field goals, but
right.
the 5th trip to the red zone, the Niners only have 1 touchdown. First and goal at the 8. It's a run play to Jordan Mason.
James Conner exuding his will. Okay, pause this for a second before we start it, but I tweeted out this, and I want to make this kind of a really important point. In my opinion, we have something extraordinarily special about having um, you know uh, a running back in James Conner who is such a bell cow and such a competitor and so freaking tough. And on the other side, you got a Buda Baker, led his team in tackles again with 12, all over the field making tackles like a heat-seeking missile. Who, by the way, tackles people in the way that receivers fear most, is down where they can cut them in half by the legs. Does this like repeatedly and with perfect form tackling technique. To have those two guys, special guys on this roster, it's my most ardent hope that both Connor and Buddha spend the rest of their NFL careers in Arizona. I just want to put that out there. I think we'd be missing so much if we take them out of the equation. But I just want to honor James Conner for the effort he put in on this last drive. He willed. And here's what I said on my tweet is both guys, Connor and Baker, Buda Baker and James Conner, are so good at what they do. I think that they put a lot they take every opponent they play against and impose their will to the point of getting the opponents to a breaking point. Whether they can withstand that and stand up to it. I mean, who wants to tackle James Conner the way he was running yesterday? I mean, he's just unbelievable. And who wants to, you remember Kittle dropped a wide open pass over the middle yesterday? Credit Buddha, because Buddha has taken him out on plays like that in the past, and Kittle has always recognized that. And he calls Buddha, I think, one of the best players in the NFL. So, I mean, Buddha's in their heads. They always want to know where he is in the formation, etc. So now we've gotten him in a situation to kick this field out. I don't know about you, Marcos, but you were finding the play calling being very conservative as I was down the stretch. Were you? They were running out clock, but they also were running out clock, but getting the 49ers to take their timeouts, right?
Yeah, that was the goal, was just to keep running the ball to force them to take your timeout. So for all the flack that Drew Petzing has been getting, I don't think it's fair that he's been getting this type of flack. There's maybe some plays you could say that are just bad, but I think he does what he does with what he's given. So just calling just runs to the end was just something that like any OC at that time would just do to know that like, hey, we're trying to get rid of all their timeouts because we're trying to put them in a position where they're like just like you saw at the end of the game, they get the ball back, they have to desperately throw it to the outside and make these completions to the outside and whatnot, and force them to throw completions over the middle so they can waste time. And it played out perfect, and of course, played out way too perfect for us because we got the interception at the end.
Right. It turned out great. And if you're thinking that they won't be able to kick a field goal, and you're pretty confident of that with Wisniewski, but man, he kicked that one at the end of the first half. Well, I wasn't using that as a given that he won't make a field goal.
No, he was going to kick some. I think it was short range field goals. Like we never got to see him have to kick an extra point, but I
Yeah,
think for short range field goals, they absolutely would have. I guess it would have been about 48 on that. The one where they got the sack and it was like 4th and 24 or whatever it was. And they just decided they were better off going for it. But he definitely would have kicked some field goals. I think they just needed to get it real
yeah.
close, like extra point range.
Well, and I think with a minute and 50 left, 40 something, that's a lot of time. That's I mean, we've seen Mahomes go down the entire field in 17 seconds. So in situations like that where you had 20 something seconds on the clock with no timeouts left,
Especially
so
against this Cardinals defense that last year I said over and over from 20-yard line to 20-yard line, it's just open season. Sometimes
right,
they'd get stops in the red zone, but it was open season from 20 to 20.
right. And I would have liked to have seen them try to, if you get the first down, like the Lions did against the Cardinals, to close out that game. They passed it ahead to get the first down. Ticked me off something fierce. Freaking Jared Goff doing it again against the Cardinals. And it was a pretty easy, what was the in route to Amon-Ra St. Brown. Pretty safe play to run. And they didn't get it. Well, the Lions got it. I was hoping the Cardinals would do that there. But as Marco said, I mean, you can't fault. I'm not faulting it now. I'm so glad the game ended the way that it did. And look at how pure this kick is. Go ahead, Kyle. Run it.
Sorry, I ran the kick already. Let me grab it
I
real
mean,
quick.
how many times as Cardinal fans have we watched a potential game-winning kick go awry? Look at this kick. Pure. Absolutely pure. And it's a high snap. Great play by Gillikin. I don't know why, Brewer's probably still thinking about the block. It's unusual for him to snap it that high. But kickers are trained. You're swinging at the spot. You don't worry about the snap. The ball's going to be there. You're just using your swing plane. And Highland does it perfectly. All right, let's go to the finisher.
All right,
Game
so
winner.
117 left to play. We've got Brock Purdy at the 42-yard line, dropping back. Cardinals have, I believe, 6 rushing the passer here. Niners only have 5 blockers, so someone's going to get unblocked, and that is Jalen Thompson getting to the quarterback right there. Purdy lofts it up in the air.
Look at how wide open Kittle is.
Kittle was open, but Jalen Thompson deflects or affects the flight path by hitting Purdy before he can get it off.
I think he got to his elbow before the ball was able to be released. This was clearly a forward pass, but still it was a bang bang like this where the collision took place near the football. And wow, I mean, what's interesting to me is why Kaiser White is sitting right there and watching Kittle cross the field in front of his face and makes really no move to try to cover him. That's really weird to me in a
Especially
situation.
because Purdy is supposed to throw the ball right here. Right now
Correct.
is what he's got to get the ball out.
And you, in this
And throwing a
situation,
stride.
you want to break on the ball and tackle him inbounds. I mean, so where Purdy ends
Yeah.
up being all alone with plenty of real estate and the ability to step out of bounds, this could have been to the Cardinals 40 with at 1 minute left.
Yeah, let's count this out here from
If that happens, you're just like, oh my
let's do an
goodness.
experiment here. Count this out from snap to throw. So it's
Yeah,
1, 2. He's got to get it out right now. About 2.5
right,
seconds. You got to
Yeah, he's
get
at
that
right.
the
ball out.
That goes now. Yep.
Yeah,
he's at the back of his drop.
mhm. Yeah, and then on this one, even the running back, Marcos, you brought up the running back in coverage here. That running back's got eyes on Jesse Luketa the whole way. That running back's got to commit right there to Thompson.
One
The
or two,
running
yeah.
back misses the block on that play too, because
Correct.
even though there's two coming from
Yep.
the second level, Thompson's there first. Running back's got to commit
Right.
to Thompson on that block. So running
Well,
back, even though he hits Luketa, he misses the block on Thompson because that's the one you're supposed to commit to right there.
well, he's
Yeah.
supposed to try to get the inside most defenders. So, because they're the shortest path to the quarterback. So they teach him to get the inside defender and then the outside one who has a little bit more ground to cover. Like that's the one that you just can't commit to. He has to make a split second decision here. And this is why I said this is a good call by Nick Rallis and great execution by the defense up front because you put the running back in a conundrum and that's what you want to do. You want to catch
Right.
him off guard
Right.
and not have enough blockers for your
That's right.
for your defenders and stuff. And that's what led to Jalen Thompson just getting that free hit. But you're right, like he has this is where like JT O'Sullivan would come up with the quarterback school and talk about how he does a heel click, which is an extra hitch.
Right.
The ball comes out now, like he turns it upfield because
Right.
Kaiser White's like 5 yards off
Right.
that flat footed essentially.
Right.
So he's not making a play on that ball. So because he takes that extra time to hitch, maybe because he couldn't see him, maybe that's the case. Maybe because he
It
didn't know he
is.
was coming open.
Look at the how that wall between Purdy and Kittle.
Yeah,
And Purdy's not the biggest, tallest quarterback. You're absolutely right. I don't think he sees Kittle yet there, so he
and
doesn't
then
know.
and then
Now he might have a little bit. Now he has a little
yeah.
bit of a window, but by the time he can release it, yeah, he's clearly going to him now.
Yeah, at the very least, you get it off there
Right
because
there.
now
Yep.
the walls kind of collapsed. You see Kittle's in his route. He's fully into his route now. You kind of want to get the ball out like right as Kittle's breaking on that route
Yeah,
right there. But even if he doesn't see him, Kittle's taken about 3 steps right here. He's
right,
fully into his route.
right.
And maybe if he gets it out now, Thompson is still able to disrupt the play. It might not be as dramatic as right then when he gets it
Yeah.
out, but you still should have gotten it. He takes this little pump right here. I
The
don't
hitch.
know.
Yep.
Maybe he's throwing to Kittle. Maybe he's going up top. I'm not actually sure watching it back a second time. I think he's still going to drop it down to Kittle, but I can't see what's going on in the secondary here. He might have been loading up to go deep on that play.
It almost seems like it. I mean, you look at the windup on that because the that explains why it's painful.
Oh, oh, that is. Oh man, not only does it take the wind out of you, you could have trouble sleeping that night with your ribs, and yeah, it is hugely painful. So wow, this was fun going through the plays. Let's just go around the horn and get your final thoughts. Kyle, Little Rock led better.
So the Arizona Cardinals defense, I think, still has some room to improve, certainly coming out of this game. I mean, the Niners got 16 points allowed. Obviously, that's great. You'll live with that any day of the week, no matter how injured the Niners offense is. But defensively, they got 3 turnovers, 2 of which were on the 49er or on the Cardinals side of the field. There's a different football philosophy about turnovers. I subscribe to the fact that turnovers on defense is not usually as indicative of how good or bad your defense is because they're random plays. And quarterbacks nowadays are so good at not turning the ball over that, I mean, Josh Allen this week had like 9 for 30 passing, but somehow had no interceptions, right? These quarterbacks are really good at figuring out how to not turn the ball over. But turnovers are great game to game, but they're not conducive to like long-term projections of how good or bad your defense is. So I still think there's a lot of room to improve for the defense. There were situations, it's just a weird anomaly of a game, right? The kickers hurt, so they don't kick a field goal on the 4th and 26 or whatever it was. You have a fumble in the red zone, interception that was batted down that we talked about. It's a busted play for the Cardinals defense that the defensive line turns into an interception that leads to 3 Cardinals points. So I think as great as the defense played in the second half of this game, there's still definitely room to improve. The 49ers get one of those things go their way, then the Cardinals have to score a touchdown instead of kicking a field goal at the end of the game. I think that it was a fantastic, fantastic comeback, and I'm really impressed with how the defense was able to play against a Niner team that last year I think had the fewest turnovers in the entire league. So if you can generate 3 turnovers and hold them to 1 touchdown on 6 trips to the red zone, you are doing something right. And I think the first trip to the red zone ended in the Kittle touchdown. So the last 5 trips to the red zone for the San Francisco 49ers end in no touchdowns, a turnover on downs, a fumble recovery, and a few field goals. You will live with that any day of the week. So fantastic job. Winning against the 49ers is not easy. I've been saying from the start of the year, I don't think this 49ers team is really that good this year. They're just so injured, and there's something psychological that happens to teams when you get that close to the Super Bowl and you lose, and it feels like a traumatic event, and you're starting to see some of that from the 49ers. I don't think this 49ers team is as good as last year's 49ers team, but it doesn't need to be for the Cardinals to go from giving up 7 rushing touchdowns to Christian McCaffrey in 2 games and getting played off the field last year to going into Santa Clara, 13-point second half comeback and beating the San Francisco 49ers. So that's my thoughts on the game.
And one quick note was that I think they did a graphic that Kyle Shanahan was 38-0 with a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter. So there went I was happy they flashed that. I thought, wow, this could jinx it. And it did. Marcos, final thoughts?
I know what like a lot of people that we know in our own community, they would always attest us to it being like more so like a comeback game for Kyler Murray. Like, hey, he did a great job. Like they'll highlight his throws. They'll talk about how we're back in contention and stuff, but we obviously can't see all of it until the all 22 and the advanced stats come in, because what kind of angers me about like this community is that nobody else gets their flowers. Because when I looked at this game, the first thing that popped out to my mind was the defense gets flack, and the defense played really well, and they're not going to get anywhere near the like they're not going to get anywhere, that they're they don't get anywhere near the credit for not only having a good game plan, but playing well against a team that they've been getting brutalized by. Like,
Right.
The 49ers have gone a streak of like scoring 30 plus points on the Cardinals defense. And usually, like, when a game doesn't go well this year, it's always been like, oh, that's the defense's fault. Even though, if you really think about it, the defense had already 3 instances of having great play, especially in the second half, to put our offense in positions to be able to win the game.
Right.
So I I want to give big kudos to like the defense for playing well, for Nick Rallis, doing a good job play calling at the very least, forcing those turnovers, playing with a lot of passion, playing pissed off after what happened to them when they gave up 42 points against the Washington Commanders. Um, and as far as the offenses, same thing goes for the receivers. Same thing goes for this offensive line. This offensive line has been getting trounced, and I go and find out from one of the smartest minds in the football community that the Cardinals have the fourth best pass blocking efficiency and allowed the 11th least pressure in the NFL. And they're
Right,
actually better than a bunch of offensive lines that belong to teams that you would probably think that are better
right.
offensively than the Cardinals are. So once again, the onus falls on the quarterback. And Tom Brady did a great job calling it out when he saw it. Thank God he actually started calling it out. Look, there's Kyler Murray changing the play. Oh, look, he's checking in and checking out. Kyler Murray needs to make that read and whatnot. So basically, from the GOAT telling the fans at home listening, hey, this is good on him, and this was on him. So I think at this point, this offense is what it needs to be. And I'm sorry to say, but this has to be a one-on-one, like backyard football with a bunch of QB reads in order for this to just keep chugging and be successful because I don't know if he's gonna be able to fully grasp the wide zone, scheme of like, being under center so many times and doing that three-step drop. He can't do that and hitting the targets over the middle. It's just we saw what makes him good, and I think they just need to double up on that.
Yeah. The defense to hold the 49ers to 16 points in Santa Clara is just so awesome. I mean, I would have never have expected that, given the inconsistent play. We just didn't know half to half who we're getting with the Cardinals defense. But we saw it versus the Lions. We saw it all game versus the Rams, largely because of the impact Buda Baker had in that game, getting basically a one-man wrecking crew to their vaunted running game, and made it easier for the Cardinals to defend on passing downs. And Buda defending Cooper Kupp on two key occasions, on third down plays. So, but we have seen good second half play from the Cardinal defense, which bodes well. And they have yet to play to their potential, their full potential, and we've got to find better ways to rush the passer, which they did on that final play. But it's coming together. I mean, the main difference for me is we're seeing more attention to man coverage and stickier coverage. That's what had to change, regardless of what the pass rush was, and it is changing. And we got some young players in there who are, the Rabbit came in yesterday and made some really good plays, and he can play the slot too. He can do what Garrett Williams was doing before. Now that Garrett Williams is out, got to worry about Garrett Williams, and his history of injuries, unfortunately, recent history of missing another game. Got to worry about Will Hernandez. Man, did he get rolled? God,
Yeah.
that's scary. I'm just praying that it's a extended knee that has no real structural damage, and he can work back into shape. But boy, that was scary, and it would be brutal for him if this is a major injury because I was earlier in the season wrote an article, making a petition for them to re-sign Froholt and Hernandez, and stating why it would be to their advantage to take the money now as insurance, rather than wait and play in the market. Now we know they got it done with Froholt, and Will Hernandez probably, understandably, could be waiting to think that, what are they paying guards now? 20 mil a year. I mean,
They're
so
up
and
there now.
Hernandez is making a case for being a top 10 guard. Maybe it's a chick ching play payday, but if this is an ACL or an MCL or God forbid any of those things, it's terrible timing for him going into a free agent year. And I think the Cardinals could possibly do him justice, do a Honey Badger deal with him if that's the case. But let's not put the cart before the horse. Hopefully, we'll get great news on that front because he's been playing well and he's been a pillar for us at right guard, and we need it. I thought Tristan Colon came in and handled himself really well in that situation, and we didn't miss much of a beat. Although you always miss Hernandez's
Yeah.
strength at the point of attack. Um, And so total kudos to the defense, to the special teams. Gillikin nailed 2 long punts, huge flip the field for the Cardinals. He made that great, hold on the high snap on the game-winning field goal. Those are things you don't want to take for granted. And then Chad Ryland really impressed me. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if the 49ers, having seen this with Jake Moody going down, whether they would try to poach Ryland because he's still on the practice squad. The guy I love, Matt McCrane, is now available. He was on Detroit's practice squad and was released this morning, because they're settled in on their young kicker now, moving forward, and they needed those spots for other injuries. But Matt McCrane was with the Lions for a couple of weeks and doing well there, so maybe he gets on board one of these field goal needy teams. But getting to Kyler, it's the inconsistency that worries you. But maybe this is a breakthrough kind of game for Kyler. I think it might have meant a lot to him to hear Tom Brady giving him the LFG Player of the Game award and lauding Kyler for his leadership down the stretch in this game, at the beginning and down the stretch in this game. Maybe this is the moment of truth, because, and Kyler's probably come to the recognition as, I do need to run the ball. The stats favor it. That when I run it 5 or more times, our winning percentage is much higher. And when I do this and when I do that, and like Marco said, continuing to adapt to this kind of offense, the Petzing offense. And I thought he handled himself from under center really well yesterday. But here's the stat. Here's the thing. Here's what Kyler's up against, and it's interesting that it comes against Green Bay of all teams. Of all teams. Now that Aaron Rodgers is gone, but it's still, we got Love. They got Love at quarterback, and they got a really good football team. And it's a second level, second 4 game of the season type game again, like it was 3 years ago. But here's the stat. Since going 7-0 and 3-0 versus the NFC West in 2021, Kyler Murray has a 9-22. Now it's 10-22 record, which 9-22 is 29%. Now, like they say, win losses isn't a quarterback stat, but in a way it is. It's just kind of mind-boggling that a player of this talent has really struggled in this manner. For whatever the reasons you want to give it, it's just happened the way it's happened. And at this point, it doesn't matter how it happened. What matters is now, and see if he can change this around. Because up until yesterday, he was 1-9 in the NFC West over his last 10 NFC West games. The one being the Rams game he just won this year. Now he's won 2 NFC West games in a row, going 2-0 this year. But he has not won 2 games in a row at any point during that 31-game span since the Green Bay game in 2021. Can you imagine that? I thought of that and thought, have we won 2 games in a row? So I went back and looked. We have not won 2 games in a row. So up to including the 7-0, Kyler. But get this. So when you look the other way, up into and including the 7-0, Kyler was 20-19-1, 51%. And he won 2 games in a row 8 times during that span. So, I mean, now would be a great time, an auspicious time to get back at Green Bay and start a new streak and win 2 in a row. Because it's the consistency. We see the brilliance in Kyler's game. We fawn over it. It's awesome. But quarterback play in the NFL, comes down to making the big plays at the right time and, and being consistent and consistently good. And that's been the problem for Kyler since that Green Bay game. So I'm really encouraged by this and encouraged for him that this game was a breakthrough of sorts. Typically, Kyler, when he makes bad mistakes, seems to compound it by going into a shell. Yesterday, he came out of that shell. Yesterday, he finished, and I think I think this could be a real boost for him. And I do believe he looks like he's in the best physical shape of his career. I think he's really gotten himself in great shape to do this, and he's got the full support. And it's a very encouraging sign. So, thanks so much, Marcos. We love having you here. You're a great person to break down film with. Please tell people what you're up to these days and how to find you.
Well, you guys can find me on the Redbird Reboot podcast with Blake Murphy, 7, as he calls himself on Twitter. My Twitter handle is at Pancake Soul. As I always will say, if you guys have any questions, you guys can always DM me. I'll answer everything that you have a question about. Maybe I'll get back and forth with you, but that's just the nature of the game. But I love being on this podcast. Thank you, Kyle and Walter, for consistently, inviting me back onto the podcast, and I'm always honored to be on it.
Well, we love a good serving of soul pancakes whenever we can get it, with lots of butter and syrup. So you're like Domino's Pizza, my friend. You deliver, and that's why you're here. So thanks.
Thank you.
And special thanks to Kyle Ledbetter, who's having a marvelous time. Tell the folks about your San Diego Padres.
Oh, you mean this weekend? I went to Los Angeles and watched them lose. No, I'm kidding though. But yeah, I got to go to game 1 of the playoffs this past weekend. Was driving up the California coast as the Cardinals were furiously mounting their comeback, and it was so exciting to get to listen to it on the radio and hear everything that was happening. That was absolutely stunning. Absolutely stunning. I kind of wish that I had gotten to go to this year's Cardinals game in Santa Clara because I live up in Sacramento, so it's just a quick train ride away to go to the Niners games. But it still was a pretty incredible experience. I'm glad that I got to watch playoff baseball in Los Angeles and got the best of both worlds because the Cardinals came back to win, and then San Diego absolutely pummeled Los Angeles in game 2. So it was a wonderful Sunday evening to get that comeback that I couldn't believe was happening, and then to get San Diego blowing out the Dodgers was a fun experience. So even though I went to watch the Padres lose, it was still cool to watch playoff baseball.
That's awesome.
Yes, it is. Kyle, thanks so much again. You're for all the video work and everything. You were able to pull that up for us, and for all the good work you do for the show. Kudos to all of you Cardinal fans. It's nice to have a Victory Monday. I lit up my tree. I will make that a tradition. And I'll have to see about next week in a family wedding up in Vermont, in Manchester, Vermont. Over the weekend, the wedding's on Sunday. So I'm going to have to work closely with Kyle to figure out when we can do a podcast and when I can contribute. But I'll be keenly interested, of course, in this Green Bay game at Lambeau Field. And kudos to all of you for the support you've been giving the show. Well, we really appreciate it. And until the next time, and like it was yesterday, may the red rain of confetti shower down on you into a red, red sea. Red rain.